Welcome back, everybody. There's a new video for the Did You Know series, and I'm going to be going over something today that most people don't know. I've written scripts before, screenplays before, and I have an example. I will be showing you a little bit of what I've written, not just so you know what a screenplay looks like in opening. But there's a phrase that was used in the 30s called MOS, capital M, capital O, capital S, MOS. What does that stand for? I'm going to go over with that in a minute for you. Now that in the early days of film, they had the silent film era. They didn't really need MOS too much, and I'll explain why. Later on, when they came up with sound, sound was very difficult with film because you had a separate recording device that you had to record with the film camera that you had used. Okay, so it was a separate recording device. Early days of film were very, very touch and go because the sound had to be almost perfect. So, what they came out with on a script, MOS in the 1930s or earlier, actually 1920s, German filmmakers started coming over to America, United States, to get away from what was going on over there. So they wanted to get away from Germany and come over to the United States. Well, a lot of them came to Paramount Pictures, some of them came to Universal Studios, and they brought with them what was called German Expressionism. German Expressionism is, if you look at some of the old films of Frankenstein, Dracula, all of the Universal films, you see a lot of dark light with fog. And you'll see here an example here. That was an example of German Expressionism. They brought that over with them from Germany. Now, MOS actually means without sound. Okay, now what happened was that when the German filmmakers came over, they could not pronounce without sound. They would pronounce it mitout, M-I-T-O-U-T, S-O-U-N-D, without sound. So when you see on a script, you see here it says MOS, means without sound, without sound. Now what does that mean? Well, that means is basically if you're filming something like a crowd scene or traffic in a city or even a city, you can film that in silent mode. That's what in the days they used to do it, silent mode. They would film it in silent, and then they add the wild, it's called wild sound. They would add wild sound later. So, for instance, you didn't need to have any synchronization of the dialogue. Was what called wild sound. So you could actually film a stadium in silent and then add sound later of a crowd or traffic in a city, and no one would be able to notice that it wasn't filmed at the same time. So that's an example of what without sound, MOS. And in the early days of film, they did have that on scripts, screenplays, but they don't have it too much anymore because they don't have that issue where they have to do sound separately. But that's a little bit of update of what MOS means. And this is our new site here. We'll film them from a new location. Next week I'm going to be doing something getting back to Gettysburg. And I have a friend of mine that we're going to probably sit around and talk about Gettysburg, some of the battles. He's going to go over the battle sites from the Gettysburg site, and I'm going to go over the actual battles. So subscribe with us, please. And next week we should be discussing Gettysburg. All right, thank you, and you have a good day. And remember, did you know?